Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to BSG. We are the Benelux Speedrunner Gathering. My name is Nordic Soy. I'm going to be here for the next few hours, and we are got one heck of a ride coming up for you here. We have the one, the only Boxmeister running Final Fantasy II. Boxmeister, the stage is yours, sir.
Thank you. Welcome to Final Fantasy II. Final Fantasy II, second numbered game in the series. Originally not released in the West, not until the PlayStation 1 port, and then afterwards there's a lovely GBA port. But this is the PlayStation portable version I'm running. It's quite a long run, so let's get into it. In 4, 3, 2, 1, go. So, Final Fantasy II immediately starts with a battle where our opponents deal a lot of damage. So let's see if we can win this. Run for your life, Maria. And we lost our first battle. Amazing. Game over already at roughly 15 seconds in. But no. This was very, very scripted. The game starts... Final Fantasy II is a very story-intensive game instead of the more objective-based Final Fantasy I game. So, Final Fantasy II tells the story of 4 youths by the name of Firion, Maria, Guy, and Leon. The village and basically the entire land gets attacked by the emperor from an empire called Palamecia. And they get ambushed out of their town and get defeated. Luckily the rebels find them and they save their lives. So we have Hilda here, queen of the rebels, and Minwuwu, the healer. We'll just manage to heal Firion here, and he's looking for his companions at the rebel base. And he finds Maria and Guy here. But no side of Leon, unfortunately. We won't see him until a lot later in the game. Now, Final Fantasy II is a very different game compared to Final Fantasy I. Like I said, it's more story-based. The battle system is different. It doesn't use the classic level and spell slot system, but it actually levels up classes by how much you use them, and you actually have to collect key terms to advance certain points in the story, such as the rebel-faced Wild Rose. Now, this skill-based system, with where the skills level up depending on how much you use them, can be exploited a bit. Because what we'll be focusing on at the very start of the game is actually on unarmed combats, and we will be equipping shields and unequipping the rest because we don't really need it. Okay, so let's get into the wild. And like I mentioned, skills level up based on how much you use them, so you have to use kill an enemy with your fist once for 2 battles to actually level up the skills. So Maria and Firion have 1 kill, but I'll be focusing a lot of my efforts actually on Guy, because Guy starts off with higher HP. If you get hit more in this game, your HP also levels up more. So it's really a bit of an odd system. But it allows for a bit of exploitation, which we'll be focusing on. And as you see, because I have shields equipped and used unarmed, my unarmed and shields skills leveled up. And those skills are going to be important to dodge a lot of damage in this game. And that's fine, actually. So this this battle allows me to get Guy to level 2 for unarmed combatant shields as well. And I want Guy on level 3 unarmed combatant shields, which will be at next level will be done by doing 2 hits in a battle for 2 battles. So you'll be seeing me pace my actions very specifically throughout the battles here. Nordic, do you have anything to tell about our cause here?
Absolutely. Just to remind people of who we are and what we're doing here, we're the Benelux Speedrunner Gathering, and we organize bi-monthly gatherings in the Benelux for speedrunners. Now, due to the situation surrounding COVID-19 and all that fun stuff, we are currently doing all of our events online for the time being. So this event is featuring streamers from both the Benelux and from the rest of the world, bringing you entertainment during the lockdown. And the reason we're here is we're raising money for Mind. Mind is a nationwide organization that's committed to prevent mental health issues and to support everyone who is dealing with mental issues themselves or within their family. So all of your donations, and so far it looks like we've got, 2,733 euros worth of donations? Well, that's an amazing number. So bravo, big claps to all of you out there in chat. But yeah, all of that money is going directly to Mind. So thank you all so very much.
Definitely. So I need one more battle for Guy to get to the right levels. Luckily we gotta get a battle here. Now, since I only got one enemy, what I'll be doing actually is I'll do attack once with all bucklers equipped, which won't do any damage, but does count as an attack. So it's a method you'll see employed a couple of times later in the run as well. And there we go, that's the level required. And we make it to the pub here in Finn. Now, Hilda earlier didn't let us join the Rebels because she thinks she's too young. She did learn us the key phrase of the Rebels, which allows us to enter this pub. And apparently here, her lover is located, who was actually wounded in the battle earlier. And his name is Scott. Now, Scott is on his deathbed, and he will entrust us with his ring. And tell Hilda he loved her before retracting his words, actually, because he didn't want to cause her worry. So that feels bad, man. Already the first death character we see dying in the game, and don't worry, he won't be the last. More characters will be dying, actually. Sadly enough. For intended drama and all that kind of stuff. Now, let's see. We picked up some potions, and what we'll be doing now is we'll shift Firion and Maria to the back row. And what this does, people in the back row can't be hurt by physical attacks, so all the physical attacks will focus on the person in the front row, which will be Guy. And because Guy will get all the physical attacks, it also means that he will get all of the HP level ups. Now I'm going to take this a bit more safely than usual, so I will be taking a lot more fights, because I actually have an extra potion. And what taking more fights does is it will allow Guy's HP to increase a bit more, hopefully. I will try to take mostly encounters with 2 or less enemies, because it's defeating 4 enemies is somewhat slow, unfortunately. This type of poison status won't last, so it will wear off at the end of this battle. And hopefully I get my first HP increase soon. No luck so far. But yeah, the levels for unarmed combat shields are exactly where they should be right now. Until we go to our next objective. Because now we received the Scott's ring, and we'll go back to Altair where we started. And show this ring to Hilda. Now it doesn't really matter if Guy dies here. Preferably not, but it can't really be avoided in this case from the looks of it, so it'll be fine. Now the thing is, if you have a dead character on the front row and the other characters on the back row, if you get ambushed or something, or the first round passes, then, well, enemies' physical attacks all don't happen and the back row gets shifted to the front row. So that's the way you can survive most encounters in game, actually. Oh, I need to select the right item. There we go. The ring we show the ring to Hilda. And she thinks it's a proof of courage, so she finally lets us join the rebels. And she sends us out with Minwoo to investigate the disappearance of some soldiers and the farming of some mithril in the mines. Or at least you will find out in the town that the town's mayor actually is forced to do the Empire's bidding because they kidnapped his daughter. Now let's see. I have plenty of Jill actually. And we're gonna unequip Minwoo here. And Minwoo is white mage, so he has all the relevant healing skills. So it's really nice. Now, if I was low on Jill, I had to side the items prematurely, but now I can save a shopping trip because I have enough Jill to continue. In the original Final Fantasy, you would get the ship very early, and you would be able to sail the seas to wherever you want rather quickly. Now, you don't get a ship or airship at your disposal very early on in this game. So you actually have to buy a ferry ride or an airship ride. So here we actually have to buy a ferry ride to the next town, and then we have to buy an airship to the first dungeon we're gonna visit. And the first dungeon is gonna be the Summit Falls, where the Empire is actually mining mithril. Now, Summit Falls will be focusing on taking the encounters such that Guy levels up his unarmed combat and shield skills, whilst Firion and Maria also level up their skills, shield defense skills somewhat. Now, nice thing is we luckily need need to attack with Firion, Maria, and Guy for 3 times for the first battle. So that's this encounter is actually perfect. Now, I did equip 2 bucklers on Guy for the first turns, in order to guarantee that all 3 characters get 3 battle turns in. Now, I will use Cure with Minwoo in order to hopefully secure Guy's survival and the survival of my other characters as well. So it will be nice. It'll work out fine. And since Firion and Maria already had their attacks in at the last turn, I can just focus with Guy. That is the first battle. We need to take 4 battles total. First battle is 3 attacks with Firion, Maria, and Guy. Second battle, I will attack 3 times with just Guy. And that's to level him up. So I can put Firion and Maria on defense, actually. Now, enemies can also appear in multiple rows, and that does actually have an effect. Because if you have more than 2 rows of enemies, the third row from the front actually can't attack physically, or can't attack with characters physically. So that actually works a bit to our advantage in this fight as well. And like I mentioned before, Guy is in the front row so that he will take most of the physical attacks, which allows his HP to level up a bit more. So that can hopefully survive battles a bit easier. Now we got 2 out of the 4 battles already. And once we have those 4 battles, we can start running away. Now the third battle is 6 attacks with each. Don't need to heal yet. I will heal Guy this turn just to be sure. 2. So yeah, most of this cave is farming the encounters really. And because Guy has leveled up in HP, it gets a lot better already. 3 attacks. So Nordic, if you have anything to say.
Absolutely. Well, I would like to thank ESA for supporting the event. They are allowing us to stream right there on the ESA channel. And for more information about any of the upcoming events and any changes due to the COVID-19 outbreak, you should go out and check out esamarathon.com. And you can also consider perhaps maybe using your free monthly Prime subscription right here on the ESA channel. Now, if you weren't aware, if you've got Amazon Prime, it means that you have one free subscription a month to any channel you like. And if you want to use it here on the ESA channel, you'll get access to all of the ESA emotes, you'll get access to some of the BSG emotes, and you get to support both the events. So everything goes to a good cause, and it's free for you. So why not go ahead and click that Prime subscribe button?
Thank you for that. Now for the 4th battle, I need 5 solo attacks with Guy, so I kind of want a bit of a larger encounter. This one will do, I guess. Wait, I did defend. Okay. Once I'm done with this, I will be on my way. I'll be picking up a few items in this dungeon, mostly gills, but also a fire scroll at some point. This is 3. And from here on, I can put off the buckler. 4. And that should be the last attack. And from here on out, I'll run away from every encounter. And the nice thing is, because of all of this, the agility also builds on the characters, which allows them to run away more easily. Which is, unless you get unlucky and characters don't flee. Now it doesn't really matter if Guy dies, because Guy could easily revive him, and like I mentioned before, I could use the back row exploit to run away from battles really easy. Square really tried to do something different when they developed Final Fantasy II. They really tried to deviate from Final Fantasy I to try develop something new. Unfortunately for them, it does make for a very exploitable game in some regards. And this is the early game where we use relatively tame exploits. It'll get much worse later, actually, for this one. Now we talked to Paul here. Paul was already the Rebel Town at the very start, and he's the blonde girl he has in tow is actually Nelly, who's the daughter of the Major of Salamand, who was coerced into helping the Empire because they kidnapped his daughter. But now everyone got freed as well, so we got to clear the general here and obtain the mithril. And we need the mithril from this dungeon to progress the story. And to see what sort of nefarious plans the Empire is up to. Which we find out in just a bit. Now, ambush encounters of this size are a bit unfortunate, because the problem is the Goblet Guards and the soldiers can attack the back row, as well as Guy with using the bows. So they can be a bit dangerous to deal with at times. Luckily, once you get a turn in, it's pretty easy to run away from them. Now here we're gonna prepare for our very first boss battle. Now for safety, I will be setting up a Guy with the bucklers in case we get ambushed, and I'll make my first safety save. Now watch and learn. I got ambushed. I'll actually reset that. That's unfortunately a thing that can happen. It's a range. Luckily reloading is not that bad. But yeah, the results can vary a lot, as you can see. Now it's actually a lot easier, because I can unequip the bucklers. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna attack with Guy, and we're gonna cast Protect on Guy with Binbu. And what Protect does, unless a Guy gets hit by a critical hit, he takes 0 damage from physical attacks. As you can see here. And because we leveled up his unarmed combat so high, he makes rather short work of the boss here. And that's the first dungeon cleared and the mithril obtained. Now we'll be using, for the next short segment, we'll be mostly using Minwoo as a meat shield. So we'll be switching him to front and Guy to the back. We'll use him to heal everyone before using him to teleport out of this dungeon. Now Minwoo gave us the canoe earlier, and if we're on the rivers, or if we're in the canoe, we don't get any encounters at all. So we take this specific path to minimize the encounters we get. Now the other reason we put Minwoo in front, you might notice that Minwoo is at very low health all of a sudden, and this is because of the teleport spell. Teleporting out of a dungeon leaves you at a very low health. And we choose Minwoo to take the low health because Minwoo will not be in our party for much longer. So we make use of. We tend to put the fourth character in the spot, in the expendable spot, as you may say. Literally using him as a meat shield. Poor Minwoo. And we make our way back to buy the boat back to Altair, where the rebel base is. But what we will also do is, because for our next part of the mission, we actually have to get back here to buy the airship to Bavsk. Because that will be where we have to go when the plot advances. But we can't advance the plot there until we hand the mithril to the weapon shop in Altair. I see a few optimizations here. For example, you saw me buy the airship already. I also already buy the boat back to the place I just got from. So I can continue straight on when I get back here again. Final Fantasy II is an interesting. It's a very interesting game, and I always mess with the movement in this part. Yeah, it's the key term system can be very painful if you forget to pick up key terms, because you have to make your way all the way back to it to pick them up again if you forget them, because some parts just won't progress without certain key terms. So that's why I'm very specifically watching those. I will actually be back to Altair soon after we advance the next point of plot. First we make our way to Bavsk using another very short airship ride, actually. I think it's the shortest ride, because it's literally across the strait. Now, we'll be doing this part actually as a mini dungeon as well. We don't have a boss at the end, but we'll be picking up a few items we're gonna sell for money in this dungeon, and it will be the first instance where we actually show a cool feature that Final Fantasy II adds, and that's shortcuts. Some spots in the wall you can actually pass through. As a couple of dungeons have that feature, and it's really cool. So we just skip a lot of going up and down. We will obviously make use of those to minimize the encounters we'll get. Now, the encounters you get in this game, well, the amount of encounters you get in this game can actually be manipulated. You can, by doing a certain amount of steps, you can actually manipulate where you can get the encounter. You can't manipulate what encounters you get, however. So as a result, if you're really advanced runner, you can step manip this game into minimizing certain the encounters you get. So you would take extra steps at some places to minimize encounters. But if you do the same movement, if you mimic my movements in the game, then you get encounters at the exact same places as I do. So that's somewhat cool, I guess. It's really interesting. And it actually works across all versions of the game. It works in the GBA version, it works in the PSP version, it even works in the original Famicom release. Not sure if that works in the new Pixel Master release, Pixel Remaster, which released a couple weeks ago. Haven't looked into the discovery thread of that just yet. Now, to prepare for the next bit of story segment, I will have to buy the ship and airship here as well. Now, I also have to pick up two key terms here from Sid, which is specifically Sunfire. And Sunfire allows us to progress the story, because what we saw in Bavsk was actually the biggest airship of the Empire, the Dreadnought, which they used to wreak havoc upon many towns, including the town with the rebel base. Because we'll be getting back to Palom here, where we bought the ferry earlier. You see everything is blown up somewhat. It's a bit sad. And in Altair we will actually see that it did a lot of damage as well, but it also some people who were in town actually suffered, including Hilda's father, the king of Finn, the town we went to earlier. So Minwu will leave our party to try and heal the king. So we're reduced to a 3-man party for now. Will be solved rather quickly. Now, the most common mistake as a new runner you can make here is to actually forget to pick up the key term from the king, because if you well, what Sid told us earlier is that Sunfire can actually blow up the engine of an airship, because the airship is powered by Sunfire. And the king will tell us that you need a goddess bell to get it, and goddess bell is a term we need to get the Major of Salamand aboard our party, actually. Which is where we'll be headed to next after buying specific spells here. Now the spells we'll be buying here is actually, one of them is 3 Blizzard Tombs, and we'll be buying the maximum amount of Fire Tombs that we can. And I could have a total of 10 Fire Tombs, which is nice. Because the next new dungeon we're going to go to actually has unrunnable encounters. And to defeat those we need Fire Tombs actually. Now, normally if I get shifted to the front row after an encounter, I'll immediately shift them to the back row. But because I'm so close to the airship and ships, I am just gonna combine the menu do the menu together with the menu for our next character once we get him here in Salamand. The snowy town of Salamand, but we'll be seeing a lot more snow soon. So this is Joseph, Major of Salamand. His daughter was kidnapped, but he will help us find the goddess bell to get the Sunfire. And for that we need to pick up a snowcraft in the Samet Falls, the dungeon we went to earlier. Now, what are we doing? Actually, wrong way around. There we go. I'll be putting Joseph in front. Joseph is higher in terms of HP and HP, so he'll be our meat shield for now. It is, however, fundamental that I keep Joseph alive, because I need Joseph to tank to be a meat shield for a certain boss fight in the upcoming new dungeon. But first, we'll take a quick detour to Samet Falls to actually pick up the snowcraft. And the snowcraft is hidden rather early into the cave, so we're already there. And after that we'll be preparing actually for a minigame. Now there is we allow ourselves a bit of cheating in this run, because once you are on the snowcraft on the snow plains, you can actually hold X and press the O button for 15 times and access a memory minigame. And if you clear the memory minigame the fastest, without mistakes, you get a whole lot of money and certain items. And the nice thing is, after 32 puzzles, the puzzles repeat. So what we do is we solve the first 3 puzzles first, record their solutions, and then do the puzzles flawless in increasing speeds in order to get a whole lot of money and basically solve our money issues for the rest of the run. As you see here. And I'll be using a screen grabber program, to record the results. So let's try to match pairs. Whoops. I could have sworn I had Maria here. You were there. That's Maria. So you'll be hearing this Chocobo theme for a little bit. And that sound you're hearing is my screen grabber program. Okay, he's capturing the right screen, that's good. I am notoriously bad at doing this quickly, but I'm trying. Oh, I'm messing up. No! Shoot, it's this one. Doing this quick is a task. Okay, that's 2. 3. Okay, this is a quick one. No. Doing this quick and under pressure is... I saw you there. I'm bad at this. Come on. No! Shoot. Ah. I'm not doing a very good job at this, but now I'll be rotating the puzzles around, so 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 29, 30, 31, 32. Okay, watch and learn. And now I, on purpose, will wait for the timer to roll a bit higher to clear the puzzles faster each time. So I'll wait until around here. That's one flawless win. And now for the next one. Okay. Oh, shoot. And now the last one. There we go. That was a bit slow. I had troubles with doing the memory puzzles. Doing them fast is a chore, and it is a bit RNG dependent on how the pairs are located across the board, so solving them is the hardest part. Once you have the solutions, it's relatively easy. Now the encounters up until the dungeon are fleeable. That is if they cooperate. Snowmans, please. Snowmans are fleeable, I swear. They didn't get the memo, apparently, for the first turn. Yeah, the next dungeon has, like I mentioned, has unrunnable encounters which will deal with flame scrolls. It's very specific. It's very specific on the encounters, I should say. That's why I have a list of them and how to deal with them. Some of them also overlap with fleeable encounters. You can find out if they're fleeable or not by trying to flee in some cases. Deadheads I can already tell in advance are fleeable. But yeah, that's basically the gist of how unrunnable encounters will work. And it's really weird, because across dungeons some unrunnable encounters suddenly become runnable. They are runnable. They can be unrunnable in one dungeon, runnable in the next dungeon, and unrunnable in the dungeon after. It really depends. It's really specific. Like I mentioned before, I want to keep Joseph alive. And yeah, this, if you really want to do it optimally, then you would make do with this 10 fire scrolls for the next few dungeons. But because it's a marathon, and what I mostly do is in between I will restock on fire scrolls. Because with the money we got from the minigame, I can actually buy enough fire scrolls to last me through the rest of the game. What I will do is I will heal Joseph after this fight. Luckily I got some extra potions as drops, so I can make this a bit more safe. Icicles are runnable. Yeah, this game is all about dealing with the encounters that you get, because like I mentioned before, you can predict roughly where you're gonna get the encounters. But the big problem is, this one of those encounters, by the way, that is either runnable or not runnable, by the way. But depending on what encounters you get, you either can run away, you have to deal with them, or you actually have to reset at later points in the game. So at later points in the run, we actually get encounters which we can't deal with and actually have to reset for. That's why at later points in the run you'll see me save a lot more in dungeons, and in some instances even save after every encounter. And for the latter half of the run you'll definitely see me save after every encounter. So most of this run is basically like rolling a dice. You get an outcome and you have to deal accordingly. So, Nordic, any news over there?
Well, I can let people know that if they are interested in joining in on the fun, you know, if you want to participate in events like BSG or ones that are similar to BSG, we can suggest checking out one of our sister events, which is UKSG. UKSG is an event that's normally held in Glasgow. It usually runs about 4 times a year, and that one supports Crisis. Currently, we're doing those events online for the time being as well. And yeah, I'd also like to remind you that aside from BSG, we also have a number of other events that ESA hosts for us, and we work in conjunction with them. So we've got a few events across Europe. We've got, again, UKSG, we have Hackathon, we have here at the BSG, we have a number of different events that you can join in on. So by all means, come in to drop a follow or even subscribe to the channel, and you will be notified when we have new stuff going on.
Yeah, definitely cool. I just did show off in short that guy does speak the language of the beaver. Guy speak beaver, amazing. One of the best lines in the game, bar to none. The beavers actually tell you that there's a shortcut in the wall. You can immediately take the shortcut, which we normally do in the speedrun, but since this is a marathon, I can take a few seconds to show that off. Have a little bit of fun. Because that's what it's all about. Now I'll be, this is the first mini-boss we'll face in this dungeon. And this is the reason we bought the Blizzard Scrolls. We picked up another Blizzard Scroll in this dungeon, so we have a total of 4. Now for this fight, Joseph is our meat shield. And I'll be laying on the damage using Furion and Maria. Now 3 Blizzard Scrolls from Maria is enough to guarantee it for the most part. But depending on the rolls, I'll either take it very safe or not. Well, this is really high, so I can do the second round with Furion and actually end the fight here. Instead of having to do the second round with only Maria and doing the third round with Maria for the total of 4. Now that was a bit of a low roll. So hopefully I'm still... Okay, I should be fine. Yeah, there we go. That's the Adamantoise down. Now after we've cleared this dungeon, we will encounter the Adamantoise a few times, potentially as a normal enemy. But we have much more efficient means to deal with enemies like that from that point on. Now, you saw me throw spell scrolls at the encounters in this dungeon. So spell scrolls can be used to learn the spells to character, at which they learn the spell at level 1, and through multiple uses of the spell, they level up the ability of the spell, which means the spell will cost more MP once it levels up, etc, etc. But you can also throw the spell scroll, and that casts the spell at level 8, and that's what we've been using here. So you may notice that once Furion throws a spell, it says Fire 8, so it does the Fire spell at level 8. Which is rather effective, as you can see. Now for this battle, we'll be making use of Guy's physical strength. Because we face with Borgen here, but Borgen is doesn't have too much HP. And Guy can deal a very decisive blow to our enemy here. This is basically a one-shot. And Guy actually gets some extra HP as a result, which is lovely. Now I quickly will change my note setup somewhat, since I don't have to use the screen grab program anymore. Now Borgen actually laid a trap in case he died, and he sends a boulder to us. The boulder will catch up to us, but however Joseph sacrifices himself to save our lives. So yeah, another character dying, and unfortunately a good number of our fourth party members actually dies. Joseph is the first of them, unfortunately. Urging us to continue on. Which is sad. So, we're one party member down, and we'll be setting up already, well, sort of already set up... no. There we go. Set up a Guy as a meat shield here. Now, since we got all the money from the minigame earlier, we will be going on a bit of a shopping trip in Salamand, the town where we got Joseph from. We have a lot of money, so we can buy a whole lot of stuff. But first we may have to make our way back there. Yeah, the dungeon, we're roughly at... a fourth of the game already, so we're progressing nicely. A little bit over a fourth of the game, actually. Just like that, the game passes. And once we're back in the greens, in the green fields, the encounters get a bit easier again. Easier to run away from. Because throughout the battle, so we also gained a few agility increases. So first, we gotta make our way to the item shop. We sell the cottages and elixirs we got from the minigame as well to maximize our money count. We'll be buying 11 ethers to refill our MP if we really have to. In normal circumstances, we really don't have to use the ethers most of the time. But I buy them just for safety, and most of the items I buy here are status healing items, so they cure blindness, amnesia, poison, you name it. But the real big thing high potions are important for healing health, obviously, but the real big thing we're gonna buy here is, well, we buy some life tomes, some warp tomes, but we're also buying 99 teleport tomes. And we have, they cost a lot of money, and, well, we buy teleport scrolls for a multitude of reasons. First of all, obviously it's faster to just teleport out of a dungeon instead of having to walk out, but a lot of the enemies in the game, and even most of the bosses, can actually be teleported away using by throwing teleport scrolls at them. Of course, it's a bit of a coin flip if the teleport succeeds, but nonetheless, it's a viable strategy which we'll be using in a lot of places. So it's really cool. Now, normally at this point we would go straight to Cash One, but because I want to be safe, I'll be restocking my fire scrolls as well. Otherwise you would have to be safe and be careful with the fire scrolls, but because I restock on fire scrolls, I can also employ some faster strats as a result. So even though it's a 1.5 minute detour, I make up a lot of it. Due to the fact that I can be more liberal with my scrolls, actually. And I'll combine it with another shop, which you would otherwise actually... well, if you would not buy the fire scrolls and the mithril shields here, you would definitely do that after the next few dungeons. This is not the place I need to be. So doing it this early is still somewhat efficient, so you still make you get a good bunch of the time back, basically. And Guy actually got a lot of HP increases. He's already at 153 HP, which is a lot higher than what he normally actually would have in the speedrun. And I'm glad for that, because I'll be relying on Guy in the next dungeon, specifically the boss of the next dungeon, so him having more HP is actually a good thing. Because the next place we're gonna be is Cash One. And we got the Goddess Bell, and the Goddess Bell allows us access into the back of Cash One Keep. Now Cash One Keep also has unrunnable encounters, but also encounters you either... oh, right. Cash One also has enemies which you have to deal with using a teleport, the teleport spell. But first we receive Gordon here as our next fourth party member. He will live, I should say in advance, a little bit of a spoiler. And Gordon is actually useful here, because he will be our healing buddy, but he has a much higher magic stat than my other characters have, so... So, what I'll actually be doing is some enemy encounters I will actually let Gordon throw the fire scrolls, because that will actually one-shot them as a result. I did learn it, right? Yeah. And what I will do as well, I will equip the party members with the mithril shields, actually. The mithril, normally we would equip them with the mithril shields later, but since I got them earlier, it's nice, because it reduces the damage a bit more in case they get under physical attack. Which most of the party members are not expected to come under physical attack, because I'll be using Guy as a meat shield for most of this dungeon. But it's a nice safety. Oh. In fact, you kind of want the party member in the front row to die, because it tends to speed up encounters, because enemies will go for physical attacks, but because nobody's alive on the front row, the party gets shifted from the back row to the front row, and you can immediately start running away. Shadows are actually runnable. Now this dungeon has a few dangerous encounters. It's not the ogres, but the ogre mages that are actually the more dangerous ones. Shadows are usually not that big a deal. And the only reason ogre mages are actually dangerous is because they cast spells, and spells can hit you in the back row. Most of the enemies here will use physical attacks, so they can't really hit my party members. Now, Adamantoise is one of those enemies you deal with using the teleport stone. So you throw teleport scroll, cast teleport at level 8, and it's a coin flip whether it succeeds or not. So that's why we throw teleport scrolls with all party members. And if you see me deal with enemies that are actually you have to deal with using fire scrolls, then you'll see me use a number of them, because fire scrolls are, well, damage based. Now, rare rats, if I would not have picked up fire scrolls, a lot of fire scrolls, I would use teleports. This is I have fire scrolls. I tend to use. Oh, careful! No, wait. Apparently, I really low rolled on this. Okay, where it's apparently our range still. That's fine. Good to keep in mind. The game teaches me something new, because that's a strat I actually doctored out today. On what would be a good safety strat to use here. Now the most status effects are really not a big problem if you get them in your party. Darkness doesn't really do anything for throwing spell scrolls, so that's why I tend to leave the status effect on. Now, if it would be an effect like the long-lasting poison, then I would actually use the antidotes to heal it off. Now, just for safety, because this is a place where you can frequently encounter ogre mages, I will do a safety save. So far, no ogre mages, but just the Adamantoise. And Adamantoise has been cooperating, so I'm not complaining too much. Now you see that the back row is a nice safety mechanism. You do have to shift everyone back to the back row manually afterwards, so that's a bit of an unfortunate thing. Ogre mages are, you saw the ogre mages there, like I mentioned, they can be really dangerous. Mostly when they get an ambush you. Now, I'll be healing Guy and Gordon, because I don't care if Maria or Furion die in the upcoming fight. I also need to unequip Guy here, because I'll be using his fists. Okay. Guy will be punching stuff and Gordon will be healing stuff. That's basically all this what this fight is about. Retzel will have the MP to do 4 spells before he switches to physical attacks. So during that time I'll basically make sure that Guy and Gordon will stay alive. And because Guy has such a high HP, this is a piece of cake. So I only have to heal Gordon once, because at this point on, this is the last or second to last spell, and so Gordon will survive it, and then he switches to physical attacks, which will only hit the character in the front row, which is Guy. So for me, it's just holding X to win. This is the last spell. And now we're done with Retzel. And Guy even got another HP increase. So that's lovely. Now what we'll do is we bring everyone back to life. We heal them, and yeah, we'll cure Gordon's blindness, I guess. We equip Guy again with mithril shields. And we let the guy... right, I forgot to teach teleport. Good job, me. I knew I forgot something. It's fine. I'll let guy teleport us out. Like I mentioned before, teleport leaves you in a low health condition, which is what you want on the front party member. Now you also saw me teach the warp spell to my party, and the warp spell only teleports you one floor back, so in this case that would be out of dungeon, and I use warp spell because it has a shorter animation than teleport. So that's a bit of an optimization. And here we see Sid's airship, of which service we have been using so far, getting captured by the Dreadnought. And Hilda was aboard that as well, so we have to go rescue Hilda actually. But to get to the dock where the Dreadnought is located, we get the very first Final Fantasy instance of the Chocobo here. And on the Chocobo we don't get encounters, and we hear the lovely Chocobo theme. It's lovely. Such a cheerful tune. And a cheerful bird, nonetheless. Now, if you've been playing the memory game a lot on the Snowcraft, then you might get a bit tired by this theme. I don't blame you, if you do. But right now we're on board the Dreadnought. And the Dreadnought is where normally you would have to be very careful with your fire scrolls. But I did fully restock, so I can be a bit more liberal with them. Like I mentioned before, I can use Gordon to great effect here. And just outright wipe the balloons and mines. It's a range, if you use it with Furion and Maria, you most often actually have to use 2 fire scrolls, but Gordon only takes 1 fire scroll to kill all of these bombs and mines here. Same goes for the undeads, however, can be killed in a single shot by Furion and Maria, and I tend to use, in such a case I would prefer to use Furion and Maria, because they are faster. They're geared a bit more towards agility than Gordon is. I will actually improve Furion's agility in this dungeon a few floors down the line. Nice thing about throwing spell scrolls is that it also, whilst throwing spell scrolls, sometimes Furion and Maria's HP also levels up as well, so they got a few increases, so that's nice. More HP they have, the better. I will pick up this chest here. This chest here contains the Thief's Gloves. And the Thief's Gloves is an item we'll equip on Furion. Now, back attacks on characters are actually determined by the top party member. Specifically, the top party member's agility. So the higher Furion's agility, the less chance you have to get a back attack. So throughout the game I will be picking up a few items to increase Furion's agility in order to reduce the chance of getting back attacks. Now we save Sid and Hilda, and Sid will take Hilda to the airship, and we'll be gonna go to the engine room to blow up the engine with the Sunfire we obtained at Cache 1. And leave and disable the Dreadnought, the Empire's weapon. So we actually have to get back to the starting floor and then start climbing up towards the engine room. So yeah, it's a bit of a trek. Were-rats were unrunnable encounter in the previous dungeon. All were-rat encounters in this dungeon are runnable. So that's good to know. A lot of research has been done on the encounter list. Because the encounter list used to be a bit inconsistent, but that's improved over the years. And for now we know for most encounters if they're runnable or not. Some encounters in specific combination, very, very specific combinations still differ, but yeah, sometimes we have no way of telling them apart, so we'll just go for safety at that point. Now the Gaston rates, most of the undead encounters, if you would have not restocked on fire scrolls earlier, you would be in a bit of despair. Be a bit despairing right now because you would have very little fire scrolls to deal with the enemies here. But because I'm fully stocked on them, I rather prefer to have the undead encounters, because the undead encounters are guaranteed to die in one fire scrolls, basically. Same goes for the mines and the bombs, so I would prefer to have the unrunnable encounters that actually use the fire scrolls. So in that safety strat I did actually turned a disadvantage into a complete advantage. Because yeah, we only bought 10, we had a total of 10 fire scrolls going into Snow Cavern, so with the few that I actually had to use there. And the amount of undead enemies I have to deal here, yeah, no chance. Although, if you would have low amount of fire scrolls, you would actually opt to use teleport scrolls against bombs and mines. But like I mentioned before, teleport spells are a coin flip. They either work or don't work on an enemy. So it's basically like flipping a coin against an enemy. And the nice thing about having fire scrolls is that it guarantees the kill. That's the conundrum. And all my party members are blinded and wearing sunglasses, so looking sharp. Now this next floor, it's the last floor before the engine room, has a lot of dangerous encounters, so I'll definitely be saving here. You can get encounters containing sorcerers in here, and sorcerers can cast spells, so they can hurt me in the back row. Preferably I get none of them and just have a short trek through this room. But yeah, it's a coin flip as well. Like werepanthers are also a thing, but werepanthers both werepanthers and sorcerers, whoops, you can run away from, but they can do a lot of damage to you if you're unlucky. Werepanthers luckily can't hurt you in the back row. They're physical attackers. Now this is the one I was, yeah, a bit afraid of. I did make a save at the start of the dungeon floor, so hopefully Gordon survives and runs away. Okay, they both use blinds, so I have a shot. I think I'm dead. Alas, no. So I have to do that floor again, but my estimate didn't account for this kind of shenanigans happening. This is not the worst you can get in the run, so I'll be a bit more careful this round, saving a little bit more. Yeah, Gordon doesn't have the best chances to run away from encounters, unfortunately. Furion and Maria are much better suited for that task. Helldivers are fine. Most encounters here are actually fine. Specifically the sorcerer ones that are annoying to deal with. Okay, this one is fine. I should be fine. And I'm not too worried. I have 10 minutes of time save on the last splits of this run, so I have a lot of leniency actually in this run to deal with. So let's throw the Sunfire into the engine. Now we see the Dark Knight we saw in Bafsk earlier pop up to berate us for what we've done to this ship. He has a bit of a familiar voice. He will be revealed a bit later. And now our characters will escape the ship using Sid's airship, so they go down. The stupid part about this cutscene is that at some point, right before the fade out, you see the characters stop moving because they only walk across the screen for a certain length of the animation. It's really funny once you start noticing it because you can't unsee it. And once we make this escape, the Dreadnought is defeated. Skip the cutscene here, and that's where I split for the Dreadnought. It's a little bit over an hour in, and we disabled the big weapon of the Empire. So that's lovely. Sid will drop us back at Altair. So that's nice of him. And we'll see how the king is doing actually, because he was on his he was not doing too well earlier when we asked him for help. But he will actually yeah, die. Minwu can't really save him. Nah, his final words he will ask Gordon to actually help Hilda in leading the rebels. Hilda is recovering. He mentions the Ultima spell to Minwu. The Ultima spell is supposed to be the legendary ultimate spell that can deal a lot of damage can destroy a lot of things. So Minwu will be on a quest for that. But we will be talking to Gordon soon. Gordon will be leaving our party here, but he will send us on a quest, actually. More specifically, a quest to look into the Dragoons and Wyverns of Dazed. Now, a little bit of spoiler. A lot of the population of Dazed has been wiped out by the Empire because their water supply got poisoned. But on the way, we first need to secure our way to Dazed. Yeah, the ferry that we used to take is actually not over here anymore. So we have to find another way here to get past the oceans. Luckily, we have this captain here who's willing to give us, to help us get across the sea. Her name is Layla. Now, unfortunately, Layla is the captain of a pirate's crew. And they try to, you know, ambush us. Steal our stuff. So we actually have to fight the pirates. Now, luckily, pirates can be dealt with rather quickly, because we have fire tombs. And 3 fire tombs are guaranteed to kill the pirates. Now Guy gets revived because Gordon left the party. Usually when your party character leaves, all of your characters get revived no matter what. That's to prevent you from getting a party full of dead people. It's a bit of a peculiarity of the game's mechanisms. Now we make good use because we need Guy to throw fire skull as well, and the fact that he went first is also good because that means we definitely ended the fight in one turn. Now Layla asks us what we'll be needing, and she actually decides to help us. So she joins our party as our 4th party member. Now, we were sent on a mission to Dazed, but we'll be making a detour. At a later point in the game, we actually are sent on a quest to obtain the masks to get access to the right places near Mysidia. But one of the two masks we can pick up right now, and it's fast. And because it's almost on our way, it's better to pick it up now. Dungeon is relatively easy, so we're just gonna do that right now. And luckily, this island is in the middle of the ocean, but you have a visual cue on the coast to start going down. Which I'm using here, and I should land at the right side of the islands. Wonderful. Now, luckily all the encounters you get in here are fleeable. Now, just for safety, I'll be healing the back row characters. I won't be healing Guy. I'll do that on purpose because I want Guy to bite the dust so we can run away a little bit faster. But yeah, this dungeon usually doesn't give too much trouble. The only problematic thing is the boss we actually fight in this dungeon. And it's a boss we actually can and have to defeat with teleport scrolls. So it's basically like throwing a dice against this boss. Duel can be a bit annoying to run away from. They deal a lot of physical damage, so not running away from them can be a bit painful. Red moose and yellow jellies are not a problem at all. Most of this dungeon is rather harmless, and we make good use of the back row mechanics to get through. The only annoying thing here is that you have to make your way all across the room of the game to get rooms in here to get to the stairs. It's a bit of a winding path. Preemptive strikes are nice. Preemptive strikes means you get a turn for free. So a turn of actions for your party members in which the enemies can't do anything. So it's lovely. Ambushes are the exact opposites, but luckily we have the back row to prevent us from experiencing that. It is still a time loss if we get an ambush, because like I mentioned before, I have to set the party members back to the back row. But it's an effective mechanic. They did fix this, however, in the Pixel Remaster, but for all the other versions of Final Fantasy II, you can exploit this. Which is a rather interesting thing, that they kept that thing for so long. Now here's the boss guarding the place. Right in time. This section went really well, actually. So, the big horns. And it's... like I mentioned before, it's rolling a dice. It either works on, or I have to throw another scroll again. Okay, that's half of them gone already. That's good. Sometimes you get a boss. Your boss encounters can exist of 1 or 4 of these, and if you get only one of them, then obviously you have a much higher chance to end the fight early because you only have to teleport away one enemy. Now, no luck on the first turn to teleport all of them away, but luckily I teleported 3 out of 4 away, so it's still relatively free. And we obtained the black mask. Later in the run we will be obtaining the white mask as well. But first, we're gonna do a teleport with Maria, heal her, and get to the land of Dazed. Now all encounters on the sea are actually runnable, so that's nice. And actually I was looking for that landmass, so I used the ice landmass to locate myself. Because we're almost at Dazed, which is right here. Oh yeah, Ogre Mage. This is teleports. Now the encounters here are a bit more tenacious. Most of them you have to deal with using teleport tomes. I prefer to get the undead encounters containing undead enemies here, because they're easier to deal with. Like I mentioned before, flame damage, fixed amount of turns, instead of throwing the dice with teleport tomes. Stalactites are runnable. We have to go to Dazed Castle at some point, but we first need to obtain one item in the cave. Now, this cave, Dazed Cave, is the first dungeon and obtaining encounters I actually have to reset for if I get them. Luckily, that's a fire tomb. You can get the red soul, yellow soul encounters here. And yeah, they're basically enemies I can't deal with. You need a lot of physical damage to deal with them, and usually they come in 5 or 6. So we can't really deal with them properly, unfortunately. This is a bit of a nasty one, and I get an ambush, so I kind of want to see if I get a different one, or actually can make it. Okay, this is not that bad. Hill Pegasus are relatively okay to deal with. They're a lot less terrible than the Ogre Mages, really. Now, Dazed Cave is, I can tell you, is by far one of my least favorite dungeons, because right now we have to go back to Dazed Castle, get a few things over there, and then we have to go back in the cave and have to go all the way to the bottom. Let me tell you, Dazed Cave is not fun, because the deeper floors you have a 1 in 3 chance to get a encounter containing yellow souls or red souls, so you have to save after every encounter. And resetting an encounter doesn't guarantee you get a different encounter, so it can consume a whole lot of time, I can tell you. Dazed Cave can be an absolute pain to get through. Now here we picked up the pendants in the Dazed Cave earlier to be able to talk to the wyvern and get the wyvern egg, which we have to dump into the hot spring at the lowest level of Dazed Cave to make it hatch. So yeah, it's a bit of a back and forth. What we'll also do whilst we're in here, we're gonna pick up a few items, specifically the Sage Wisdom, and we do so in order to make a fight later work out better. And now we'll be back to Dazed Cave. So, Nordic, tell us more.
Yes. All right. Well, I think everybody out there in chat needs to know about what we are offering as far as prizes go. We have some pretty cool stuff out there. We have, right now, if you donate €5 or more, you can get in for a super cute Totodile plush. If you donate €15 or more, one of our sponsors here, Delfino Customs, has provided us with a pretty slick-looking PS2 controller. And I'll bet you can guess what color it is, since it's BSG themed.
Ooh. Yeah, definitely.
Yes,
cool
it's that bright orange that you see throughout the screen. Very, very cool-looking translucent orange PS2 controller. And then we have a bit of an offer for you. You can take a donation and multiply it times 5, and that's what we're going to give you as far as a gift card goes, provided that your donation is either 5 or 10 euros. Because with a minimum bid of €5, you are entered for a €25 gaming gift card, and with a minimum bid of €10, you can get in for a €50 gaming gift card. So that's probably the fastest way you can make money today, other than Dogecoin.
Yeah, definitely some interesting prices going on there. I would definitely want to go for them. Obviously, as a marathon organizer, I should stress I'm not eligible for prizes. So it will be a fair game. Don't worry. But I'll be gambling a little bit over here with the encounters that I'm getting. Revenants are good because they are runnable. At this floor, it's basically a 20% chance to get a red soul, yellow soul encounters. The 2 floors after this, it'll be 30% to get a red soul, yellow soul encounter. So pray I'm getting lucky. Basically, any encounter I can normally deal with, I'll take in here. Most of the time, unless I get really bad ambushes. But usually hill Gygases are somewhat nice to deal with. So I tend to take them. And at a later point in the run, we'll actually be restocking our teleport scroll, so I'm not too worried about using them here. Like I mentioned before, I rather prefer getting encounters like these, the undead encounters, because I have more than enough fire scrolls at my disposal. So I'll be gladly making use of those fire scrolls here, if I have the chance. So, 30% chance for the yellow souls, red souls. So pray that game gives me something different. Oh, that was the wrong move with Layla. Okay, single turn, that's good. So first encounter so far so good. Now this floor to me is the most notorious one, because this floor is really long. It's by far the longest floor of the dungeon. The next floor is rather short, but this floor, long floor, 30% chance. So basically, roughly 1 in 3 chance to get a yellow soul or red soul. It's not fun. I think it's only yellow souls in here, but it's absolutely not fun if you have to reset constantly to get past an encounter. Because like I mentioned before, even after reloading is safe, your step route still holds, so you get an encounter on that spot, but it's a gamble what you're gonna get. So usually, what you'll see with FF2 runners, they'll do different things to hopefully manipulate the encounters in something different. It's no guarantee. There's no proven way to do this. So it's really doing a Hail Mary. We try to do something differently and hope we get something differently. There's really no good way around this, unfortunately. And this dungeon is one of the worst for this. Okay. I got a different encounter, and this encounter I can actually deal with. So yeah, that's unfortunate. This dungeon alone can swing you a couple of minutes in each directions on a PB attempt. I've already lost a few minutes thanks to those yellow souls. Okay, but we're past that floor, so that's good. This floor, if we're lucky, we only get a few encounters. Okay, Revenant is good. Like I mentioned, Revenant is one of the encounters you actually want to see. Yeah, having to reset for encounters is a common theme from in the dungeons from here on out. For the next few dungeons, it will be mostly the yellows, the soul enemies that actually make you reset. In later dungeons, yeah, obviously have different enemy information to deal with. Okay, I'm safe from here because at this point I can't get any yellow souls anymore. So all I need to do now is make my way to the boss. So that's a huge relief. Now we get chimeras here. You get 1 to 4 chimeras in the boss encounter. And hopefully I'll get... I got 4 of them, of course. So yeah, this is basically... a lot of the bosses is... throwing a teleport scroll for good luck. I got all 4 of them on the first scroll, so that's really good luck. Actually, this dungeon didn't have the worst RNG, so I'm actually not complaining too much here. And obviously, we're not gonna walk back through this hell-infested place, so we're just gonna teleport out, call it a day for Dazed Cave. So all I need to do is deal with the encounters outside of this cave, which are a lot easier to deal with, I should add. And on the ship I'm actually relatively safe, because I can run away from all sea encounters, and the encounter rate on sea is also much lower, so it's a lot better from here. As we're actually approaching, well, or actually are a bit over the halfway point of the game. Because right now, Hilda at the Red Bull base has recovered somewhat, and she actually wants to talk to Firion. So we'll make our way back to Altair on ship. And let's see what she has to say. Nice boat rides, and the music in this game is amazing. Final Fantasy 2 has a really good soundtrack. It's really peaceful overworld theme. As we row our boat gently back. We're almost back at the Rebel base. And back at Altair. Now Hilda is in the low room on the right side, so she's not there, but right here. Now, a little bit of spoiler, this is not exactly Hilda. But it's actually an imposter. As this imposter tries to seduce Firion into some romance, I should say. It's not very explicit, so I'll leave it at that. I'll leave it at that. But once Firion gets closer, this imposter actually reveals herself as a Lamia queen. So not quite, so definitely not Hilda. Now, Lamia queen. We also deal with using the teleport scrolls. Lamia queen is actually an enemy we can encounter later in the game as well, and Lamia queen is actually somewhat difficult to teleport. And this Lamia queen actually has the same stats as those. Now, Lamia queen is not per se dangerous. Charm really doesn't do much, because Charm can wear off almost immediately. But yeah, it's... once she gets physically attacking, it's can be a bit painful. But I got her, so we're good. Ooh, we got a protect ring. Now it turns out that Hilda is actually located at the Colosseum in Palamecia. Apparently the Emperor switched her around with somebody else in the cell. And Gordon will join the party as Layla will hold the base for us. So we're gonna go rescue her after we revive Firion, that is. Although, with a little bit of luck... No, Firion did not get revived. So we go to the Colosseum in Polynesia. Now we did already see a little bit of the Polynesian desert, because we passed through it with the Chocobo on the way to the Dreadnought. Well, located to the right side of the mountains, there's actually the Colosseum over there. But we can park our ship close and walk there. Now there's only one unrunnable enemy we can possibly encounter, which is called the Gigantoad. But we can get encounters containing chimeras as well. And chimeras are runnable, but if you get ambushed, they can use blaze and wipe out the party. Speaking of the devil, the Gigantoads. Now, if Gigantoads are combined with another enemy in an encounter, then you can actually run away from them. Unfortunately, Final Fantasy II encounters are specific like that. Antlions are not really or at least should not be a problem if my party can normally run away from those. Excuse me. So far my party is doing a terrific job of staying alive, actually. This is maybe I finally get a run where I actually have to use the ethers, because we buy the ethers to restore MP for safety purposes. Normally, you don't really have to use your ethers, because you have enough PP to do the occasional revive. But you can get unlucky sometimes. I already had to revive quite a lot, so we'll see. Now we got a first glimpse of the Emperor, who says, to the victor goes the spoils, and he pits us against the behemoth. Fun enemy. And we'll use the age-old tactic of teleport zones on him. Now the behemoth is a little bit better in terms of teleporting it away than the Lamia Queen. I did take the safety of saving beforehand, but yeah. We deal with him rather quickly. And yeah, the Emperor loses in, but it turns out he's not actually there and he'll imprison us. See the Dark Knight again with the familiar voice. And we get trapped in this cell, guarded by a guard, but Paul, the thief we saved earlier, will actually help us out. He'll get rid of the guards and he'll free us. Now this dungeon floor is the only nice dungeon floor in here, because you have no encounters here. You have one dungeon floor after this, the only dungeon floor with encounters. And that one is nasty, because it has some really nasty encounters going on. So definitely be saving here. Well, we got parasites, runnable. And we free Hilda, the real Princess Hilda this time. So Gordon gets in to save our princess here, and he will guide Hilda to the exit. So he leaves our party. So Guy does get revived, but yeah, we have to make a way out of this place. It's gonna be fun. Okay, the Revenants. Revenant Spectres are a good one, because they only take 2 fire scrolls, and Firion and Maria are fast enough to go first. So once we get to the stairs, we're safe in regards to this dungeon. Actually, we just saved, so I've got to wait for all these spells because they could easily kill us in one round if we're unlucky. Okay. Like I mentioned, the undead encounters are the easier ones to deal with, so I'd rather prefer getting these. Okay, we should make it now. Yeah, okay, we're out. This part has no encounters, and once we're out, so we only have to deal with the encounters we had to deal with on the way in. So we just have to cross the desert again. Just a nice walk across the hot desert that's called Palamecia. This area is actually Palamecia. In the mountains over there, above the Colosseum, there's actually Palamecia Castle. I can tell you we go there somewhat later in the run. Oh, you'll see when we get there. So now we make our way to Finn, because Castle Finn is mostly unguarded, and we're gonna try and reclaim the castle in the name of the rebellion. Because it's only guarded by one enemy at the moment. Now the reason I'm gonna go over here and park my ship over here is because after we're done in Castle Finn, we actually have to go to a place that's closer to that exit. So I have a very specific reason to park the ship there. Now, Castle Finn does have encounters. Some of them are Captain Sergeant. It's actually runnable. So some of the encounters in here are actually annoying to deal with. Luckily we have Layla back now, so it's a little bit better. She was still on the front row because she got shifted to the front row in the Lamia Queen fights. We're almost there. Stalagmites are runnable. Should be runnable. Ah. Did I find one on my list that's actually should be on there but is not on there? Oh, that's cool. I normally don't encounter stalagmites on this floor, so that's interesting. I know they can be teleported away. Spoilers. We'll be delving into this castle a little bit deeper right after this next boss. And so here's Gatos. So how long will it take? One scroll, so that's not bad. Good split. Now that we have reclaimed Castle Finn, the rebels take the base here again, and we get tasked to follow Minwu back to Basidia. But in order to be able to... Oh, shoot. I need one more. In order to follow Minwu into Basidia Tower, we actually need... Oops. We actually need the two masks. Well, one of them we've obtained already, because we got it on the island. The other mask is actually hidden in the castle here. Now this castle has 5 floors, And the 5 floors actually follow a very easy system. All encounters on the first floor are to be dealt with using flame scrolls. All encounters on the second, third, and fourth floor are vulnerable, so you can flee from them. And all encounters on the fifth floor you deal with teleport rooms. Now there's one big exception to this hierarchy, so to say. And that's an enemy by the name of Green Souls. Because Green Souls, you have a 1% chance to encounter them here. And they have the same problem as the Yellow Souls, although the only thing they do is heal. They only heal things, so themselves or your party members. But they are incredibly difficult to kill, actually. So we'd rather not encounter them. So that's why you will see me save every floor. To not lose too much time to a single green soul encounter. Most of the floors are relatively short. And some of the encounters on the fourth floor that are all runnable do look a bit dangerous. They might look a bit precarious. But it's runnable, it's a relatively safe dungeon. This dungeon has no boss, but it's just basically getting to the treasure chest at the bottom floor. Like I said, the encounters on this floor look dangerous, but they are all runnable, luckily. Now the encounters on the next floor have a bit of the opposite problem, because they all look harmless. But are a bit, can be a bit nasty to deal with, if you're unlucky. Most of the things you can encounter on this floor is stalagmites. And like I mentioned before, the only thing you have to do is teleport all of them away. You teleport all of our trouble away in this Final Fantasy. There are Final Fantasies in which you throw money at your problems. There are literally. There are Final Fantasies where you just open some menus and override some boundaries. In this game, we don't do glitches, but we just teleport our trouble away, basically. We just yeet our problems into a different dimension, more or less. Interesting approach to deal with trouble. Don't you agree, Nordic?
Oh, absolutely. It makes you wonder, what happens if you end up teleporting to that dimension? Do you just have hordes of angry mobs that you've sent there that are just waiting for you at that point?
Well, the truth is, enemies can also use a teleport spell against you in some instances. And it is an instant kill if it hits, so
Oof.
It's interesting how it works, so to say. Because we also use the teleport spell normally to teleport out of dungeons. So it's really interesting how it's designed. So, but let's get to the Mysidia area. To the lovely town of Mysidia. Town of mages, so you can buy spells there. And that's exactly what we'll be doing, actually. We'll be actually restocking on teleport tomes there. But we also need to place a mask on a certain statue over there to enable further passage into Mysidia Cave. Because we, at the bottom of Mysidia Cave, the crystal rod is located, and we need the crystal rods to get into Mysidia Tower, where Minwoo somehow managed to get in. I don't know how the guy did it. It's a mystery. Instead of helping us in, the poor guy went in himself. So this is the statue where we need to place the white mask on. Now, Mysidia Cave coming up is a dungeon where you can also encounter red souls, yellow souls, so the encounters can troll you a bit. Although the encounter rates for yellow souls and red souls is not nearly as bad as Days Cave is, so it's fine, but you will still be saving after every encounter. Just in case. Because they are long floors. That is the thing. That's the major thing. And on our way to Mysidia Cave, we also encounter interesting enemies. The Malboros, for example. Staple of Final Fantasy. Or the bombs and mines. Don't confuse these with the mines and grenades we encountered earlier. Because the bombs are very sturdy, they take 4 fire scrolls to go down, so at this point it's worth it to actually use teleport tomes on them. Black Flans, relatively harmless. Now, like I mentioned before, I prefer undead encounters with one single exception, because you can also encounter the so-called ghost encounters. And ghosts take 5 fire scrolls to kill. So they're the absolute worst. And oh, this one's not. Haha, that's a reset. Okay, the break spell petrifies your whole party, and if your whole party gets petrified, it's a game over. Okay. So yeah, this is the kind of stuff you have to deal with sometimes. Swap is fine. Swaps your MP around with the enemy, and most of the time that means your MP actually gets filled. Because we have way less MP than the enemy has. Which is funny. Now I picked up the Black Garb here and equipped it on Furion, because the Black Garb further increases Furion's agility, so it reduces the chances of getting a ambush even further. These enemies have a high chance to ambush, but they're, like I mentioned before, they're not as dangerous as other enemies are. Now this is a doppelganger. The white mask in Mysidia actually stuns him, and we can then use the black mask to make it disappear. And on to the next floor. It's a bit of a long dungeon, unfortunately. So feel free to read some things, say some things, Nordic.
Yeah, you got it. So, a couple things. First off, we've got some incentives coming up that are pertinent to some runs that are going to be coming up a little bit later on in the marathon. For instance, we have Super Metroid coming up in a little while, Ooh. And we have already met the incentive to perform the hardest route for that game. But, everybody loves that choice of save or kill the animals. And, it's no exception for me. I absolutely love getting that bid war going. But we've got a third choice this time around, which is taunt the animals, which Ooh. Is near and dear to my heart. That means that we're going to walk into that room, we're going to say hi to the animals, and then we're going to turn around and walk right back out. And that is currently winning with 40 euros. But if you want to influence that...
Technically, we're not entering the room with the animals. We're entering the room right before it, though. Which is, trolling to the max.
Absolutely. Just knocking on the door. Just let them know, hey, we're here, but we're not going to help you out. But yeah, that is winning right now with 40 euros to 35 euros to save the animals and 25 euros to kill the animals. So if you want to see that heat up even more, you should get some donations in for that. And then after that, Mod366 is going to be running a game called Fox and Forests, and it's a pretty cool game. He's going to be running that on any percent. And if we can raise 75 euros before that run, he will collect the 5 magical seeds in the second auto-scroller, and it makes that stage a little bit more interesting. And we're going to just have to see what happens if we can get that money raised. But you've got a couple hours to get that 75 euro in if you want to see that happen. So get those donations in, and we will try to meet all of those incentives.
Cool. A lot of interesting stuff to donate for still, so that's a good thing. Always love me a good save or kill, or even taunt the animals a bit more. And yeah, definitely some nice incentives to go for. So far, this dungeon is okay, but I really should refrain from commenting on RNG in an RPG, because that usually tends to immediately backfire on me. It's never a good idea to mention the state of your RNG, because the game will hear you and the game will do something about it. The game does not care for your good pace. That's the harsh truth. But we're one floor away actually from clearing this dungeon. And I just saved, and the Rios is a bit of a difficult encounter to teleport. So an ambush is not really what you want to see, because the blazes can outright kill you. So I kind of hope that I can teleport them away. Got one of them, so that's good. Hopefully I'll get the other one as well. Okay, that's a lot better. Yeah, this is the last floor I have to deal with in this dungeon. So after that, we're out of here. Now, agility increase on Firion is something we always like to see. Like I mentioned before, it reduces chances of back attacks. HP increases are also nice. They do add some safety if you get enough of them. Ooh, I can... I took a bit of a risk there. Okay, so far so good. Not saving after an encounter is really risky thing to do. And I do it sometimes. But we managed. We're at the end of the dungeon. And we can fortunately teleport out. And we don't have to go back in there again. So that mission is completed. We have the crystal rods, so that would give us access to Mysidia Tower. And Mysidia Tower is located on an island we passed with a ship when we got from Castlefin to this piece of land over here. So we'll go there now. Potentially getting some other encounters on the way, such as these black flans. I like how all those slime enemies are basically named after desserts. Yellow jelly, red mousse, black flans. I believe they're also originally from Dungeons and Dragons, but though I'm not 100% sure of that. I know they're in Dungeons and Dragons, but don't know if it goes that far back. Because Final Fantasy 2 is pretty old, Dungeons and Dragons as well. But on the way to Mysidia Tower, we actually get swallowed by the Leviathan, so we end up inside its body. And Layla, for some reason, has disappeared, but she does survive, actually. I don't know how, but we'll just have to deal with it. Now, luckily... every encounter in this place is runnable. So it's not, and it's rather short dungeon. You do pick up a few items. Those are equipment we'll definitely be putting to good use later. Guy dying is not a big deal. We got revived because Layla left the party. Got the second item and we'll soon be picking up a new fourth party member. A dragoon by the name of Rickard. And he'll be convinced once we show him the crystal what we obtained. Rickard will be an important addition for... well, he will be joining us for a good while here, so... the upcoming few dungeons will actually have Rickard to help us. Good guy. Now... we'll be stripping Rickard of his usual equipment for now. And we'll be fighting the boss here, which is a roundworm. And roundworm, well, it just follows the pattern of teleporting stuff away. And a preemptive strike, so we get a turn for free. Hopefully make good use of that. Because we're at the mouth of the thing. And we get a ship to escape from here. And continue our way to Mysidia Tower, which will unlock with the crystal rods. Now Mysidia Tower, the Ultima Tome is located at the top of Mysidia Tower, but you have to fight Fire Gygus, Ice Gygus and Thunder Gygus along the way in order. And the tower follows the elemental themes in order as well. Now this tower does have a few shortcuts we'll use, but also has a few nasty enemies to deal with. Yeah. Ghost is, like I mentioned before, 5 teleports, 5 fire scrolls. You don't want ghosts. Nobody likes those. Bighorns are teleport scrolls, just like the boss encounter was. Bighorns are not too common here, so it's been a while since I've had them in Mysidia Tower. Yeah, Mysidia Tower can go multiple ways, unfortunately. Now, the first few floors are obviously fire themed. So tell me, Nordic, did you ever play the famous game I also played as a kid, The Floor is Lava?
Well, who hasn't? I mean, you've just got to stay up off the floor, run around on the furniture, and tick off your parents as much as possible, right?
Boy, you will be in for a treat soon. That's a red soul. Whoops. Red souls, yeah, are a thing that can appear here, unfortunately. Okay. Saving a little bit closer to the encounter this time. Okay, Killamantis Vampire Girl is runnable. So, because on this floor, the floor is lava actually. You don't get encounters on the lava tiles, so that's nice. But you do take damage. Now once outside of the lava, you have a very high encounter rate, unfortunately. Okay, imps are fine. But yeah, the floor is definitely lava in here. And we make it to the first boss, the Fire Gygus. Now all of the Gygases are dealt with in the same way. Throw teleport scrolls at it and hopefully one sticks. Unfortunately you can get ambushed. I'll try. Still got it in one hit, so that's good. The segments between the Gygases are relatively short, so... And I'll be saving after them. Now the next floor, a few floors are ice themed, but these floors have a lot of shortcuts, so I went through the wall there instead of having to make my way around them. Now this floor I'm in right now is a very high encounter rate, unfortunately. I was kind of hoping that the teleport would stick on the Chimera. Spectre should be down. But most of this floor has spike tiles, so you dodge a lot of encounters because you can't get encounters on the spike tiles, just like you couldn't get encounters on the lava tiles. Wow, almost no encounters there. That is... that floor was a high encounter rate floor, I'm surprised. That's nice, I guess. Like I mentioned before, step route is consistent even if you have to reload a save, so it's lovely. So the next few floors don't well, I'll lead up to the Thunder Gygas. But yeah, there's not really a Thunder floor like theme, but you have these floors with these holes and pillars. It's really not too special. Although the enemy accounts can be a bit nasty at times. I should have saved after the first encounter the first time around. Okay, the basilisks can be a bit dangerous. Because they have the power to petrify. And if your whole party gets petrified, then it's game over. But luckily Firion has a very low chance of to get petrified because of his equipment. So I don't mind seeing the basilisks since they're runnable. Getting ambushed by them is not the thing you want, but I can deal with it. Imps are fine, devil wolves, the wolves are fine if you get them. Yeah, one basilisk is not really a big concern. And we're already through our last Gygas. After this we have a few more floors and then we reach the chamber with the ultimatum. So Thunder Gygas, another ambush. But an ambush with a physical attack, so we basically shifted the entire party to the front. But no problem with the Thundergeigers so far. Yeah, a lot of Final Fantasy 2 is really saving before encounters and reacting to encounters as best as you can, as good as you can, because yeah, some of them are really impossible to deal with properly. You can know all of the encounters in terms of are they runnable, do you need to use fire scrolls and such. You can have a step route ready and still one ambush can ruin your day. That's the thing with Final Fantasy 2, unfortunately. There can be times when the game really smiles fortune upon you. Marble Terra is a rare one. I don't see that one often in here. So, we're at the top of the tower. Bidble is already here. Somehow he managed to get here without us. But the door to the Ultimate Tome is actually sealed. And Bidble is gonna sacrifice his life to undo the seal. Now, to give you a bit of a story in advance, we won't be using Ultima in the speedrun. And even casually, the Ultima spell is really not that great. It does damage, but it's not really too good. The legend has it as a very, the ultimate spell, blah 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 blah, but it is actually a program. I think the original story is that actually a programming error that the spell is so weak, but the developers liked the fact that it was like, you know, this legendary spell which turned out to be much weaker than the legends indicate. So they kept it as is, I think. That's really cool. Now, in this chamber with the Ultimate Tomb, you have orbs that increase if you increase one party member's specific stat by 10, and we pick up the agility and spirit increases, and hopefully that agility increase lands on Firion, because then we have something about it, and spirit helps with sticking the landing on sticking the spells. So let's hope we get lucky there. Now, with the ultimate spell obtained, Castle Vin, where our rebel leaders are located, has come under a new threat. After we defeated that threat, we'll be going to a different location. That's why we parked the ship in a slightly different spot, but still use the canals to get to Vin. Because the seal is undone at the top of Ultimate Tower, we get a lot stronger overworld encounters to deal with. The overworld encounters have actually increased in strength. For example, you can now encounter formations such as this, and unfortunately this specific formation is unrunnable. Although relatively easy to deal with. And as soon as we walk up, you see that in the behind Castle Vin, you see a big cyclone. It turns out that the Emperor, with his awesome magic powers, has made a castle float inside the cyclone and used it to attack all sorts of towns and wreak havoc upon the world. So we're gonna find a way to get into that place soon. First, we need to pick up, amongst others, a key term, the key term Cyclone from Gordon here. And then we actually have to go into the basement of this castle, although a different basement this time. An easier basement, because no encounters here. And we use a mirror to actually summon the wyvern from the wyvern egg we deposited in the spring a while ago. So let's see, pendants. There he is. And we get the wyvern, which allows us to fly into the cyclone and go wreak havoc upon the emperor. We're gonna face the emperor soon, so that's exciting times. The big antagonist of this game is we're finally gonna deal with him. As Dragoon and Wyvern are united once more. So yeah, last Wyvern, last Dragoon of Dazed, because most of the Dragoons died due to the Emperor poisoning their water supply. Really sad. Now, we don't deal with this in the speedrun, but Rickard actually has a... Rickard's wife and Rickard's son are actually the ones we encounter at the Castle of Dazed, and his son is actually called Kane, which I think is also a bit of a nod towards, because he appears in the remakes, to the Dragoon Kane in Final Fantasy IV, which is obviously a bit more of a famous one. FF2 actually has a lot of names that appear in FF4, such as Mysidia, Palom, Porum, amongst others. So it's really cool to see a lot of references like that. Oh. Let me quickly heal Maria before we head into the Cyclone. Now the Cyclone isn't too bad. There are a few encounters you can't really deal with, but you have to reset for inside the Cyclone. Although they're not too common, and if you save often, it's relatively easy to deal with them. Yeah, the overworld encounters definitely have stepped up their game. So hopefully I'll survive that. Although... okay, I should be able to run away. Sergeant. Oh, shoot. There's one unrunnable one. Yeah, the overworld encounters of this specific piece here that you can encounter, such as the Sergeant, Sorcerers, are really a pain to deal with, because sorcerers have spells. It's really annoying. Once you can land a spell on them, they're really not that difficult to be dealt with, but they're mostly annoying. They cost you time. This one is definitely intent on costing me time. Proud soldier standing in my way here. Exit stage left. You can go away now. There we go. Took him long enough. Some of these enemies drop crazy tomes. So, we're inside the Cyclone, and we're gonna make our way up this place. Captain Hilke, I guess. Unfortunately, an unrunnable encounter. Although we have the most difficult one out of the way. Okay. Next floor. Cyclone is relatively straightforward in terms of pathing. And there are not too many unrunnable enemies in here. Some of them are interesting, but most formations are fine. The only really annoying formations you can encounter are the wood golems and the wood golem royal guys, because those are unrunnable at all. And you also can't beat them, so you have to reset for them if you encounter them. It's funny, at the end of the dungeon you actually have to fight one wood golem amongst others, to give a little bit of a spoiler. But we deal with that boot golem in a very specific way. But yeah, you save frequently in this place. Because wood golems are not that uncommon in here, unfortunately. Okay. That's another floor down. And at the end of this dungeon, you actually have to take 3 encounters in a row. So that can be a bit, can get a bit nasty. Now, I went into the town of Finn a little bit earlier. The reason I did so was, amongst others, to pick up the so-called blood sword. And the blood sword is a weapon we're gonna use in 2 places. One of them being the boss at the end of this dungeon. The blood sword does 1/16 of enemy's health per hit it takes. So if you land 4 hits, so if a character does an attack, it will say that amount of hits and then damage. So if, for example, a Ricket does an attack with the blood sword and it does 4 hits, it'll do 4/16, so a quarter of an enemy's health in terms of damage, and that's what makes the blood sword so powerful. Because, as you may see, our stats are really underleveled, but the blood sword doesn't really care for stats. Basically, maximize the amount of hits that you do, and you can kill enemies rather quickly. Oh, I got poisoned. Okay, we're at the last floor. That's good. Now, in here, I need to set up my party specifically, because what we're gonna do, we need everybody alive for this. That's one requisite. We put Rickert in front, because Rickert will be physically attacking the 3rd encounter, because we'll be taking 3 encounters in a row. First 2 encounters are the Royal Guards. Now, the Royal Guards, just like you can encounter them normally in this dungeon as well, you deal with them using teleport tomes. So really straightforward. The first 2 encounters is just throw teleport tomes and hope you don't take damage. The 3rd encounter is the actual boss encounter. It consists of 1 wood golem, 2 Royal Guards, and the Emperor. The Royal Guards and the Emperor can be teleported away. The Wood Golem, however, we do a combination of the hits with Blood Sword. And we picked up the Sage Wisdom in Dazed earlier. We used that to boost Guy's magic stat to the max and throw Fire Scrolls at the Wood Golem, and we should kill the Wood Golem in 4 hits. But we also have to stick to Teleport Tomes in combination. Plus, it really depends on how we start the encounter in the first place. If we get an ambush, it can get nasty. Preemptive is good, because what the Preemptive allows me to do is actually what I'm gonna do. Because I did buy them for safety. I will prepare Guy in advance. And I will equip the Blood Sword on Rickert. So first turn is free, that's good, and hopefully I'll teleport something. Okay, good. This is already really good. Now the Blink Tome is an extra safety, because... oh, that's poor. I will Do it like this. So hopefully I get the Emperor out of the way as quickly as I can, because the Emperor can do nasty spells. And yeah, but for the Wood Golem I just want to do maximum fire damage and hit him with the Blood Sword. Now that's good. I got all the teleport enemies out of the way and I have Rickard's in a good position here, so all I need to do really is throw the fire swords and throw the fire skull and do damage with the blood sword, and we're there. So this went as good as it really went as well as it can get. So the Emperor is defeated, actually. So yay, we're gonna celebrate. We're gonna hold a big ball in the castle of Finn. Game over, you would think. Game ended, we call it here. Well, no. Game is not done yet. Unfortunately. We still have a few more dungeons to go, because yeah, this Balsa room scene is amazing. Hilda dancing with Gordon, Maria dancing with Furion, Layla watching beside the throne. Lovely scene. This scene is actually somewhat lengthy. But the party gets interrupted because apparently the Dark Knight we encountered earlier has taken over Empire of Palamecia, and his name is actually Leon. Now Leon is the character we had with us at the beginning. He's Maria's brother, actually. So, yeah. And he got captured by the Empire and he defected, turned into the Dark Knight. We encountered him a few times, but we're gonna try and talk some sense into him. Now with the attack of the Cyclone, Sid sort of ended up very damaged around here, and he allows us to borrow his airship, and he mentions it's borrowing, even though Sid passes on here. Too damaged to live on, unfortunately. So that's a bit sad. Now, this equipment menu is important, because after the next dungeon we will no longer have Rickard, so we need to actually make sure we get the blood sword off of him, because we need the blood sword for the second time last time we used the blood sword is actually on the final boss. Unsurprisingly, because yeah, the final boss is not a boss we can defeat using offensive spells such as fire or teleport. We actually have to use physical attacks, and the blood sword is the weapon of is absolutely the only reasonable way we have of killing him. I'm not gonna spoil the final boss user just yet, because in about 8 or 9 minutes it will become abundantly clear who the final boss is gonna be. As we enter Palamecia Castle through airship. Now Palamecia Castle is not too bad in terms of what you can encounter. Because those wood golems and black knights that were unrunnable in the Cyclone are actually runnable here. There's only one nasty encounter you can get here that you can't deal with and actually have to reset for, and that's the Imperial Shadow. But the Imperial Shadow is incredibly rare. Oh, but we did encounter it, so a good demonstration. Imperial Shadow, lookalike of the Emperor. Thanks for illustrating my point. 1.6% chance to encounter. Ladies and gents. You saw it here first. Nice demonstration of RNG. Also at, luckily, not too big a cost, because I just saved. I'll save a bit more frequently than I would normally do, because normally you can get away with saving once every few encounters, and I would save roughly every floor. I'll save slightly more often, because the encounters in here are not too bad. Some of the encounters are difficult to deal with, because they are hard to teleport away, or they are called Imperial Shadows. A lot of the encounters are not too bad. Most of them are not too bad, really. Grottos are runnable, like I mentioned. Lamias are runnable. Wood golems are runnable. Generals, unfortunately, aren't. Please. Okay, that's good. Okay, that's not too bad. That's about as good as you can get for generals, because generals are hard to teleport away, unfortunately. Actually, my guide recommends, if my notes say that if I have just saved an encounter in general, it's better to just reset the encounter. But so far, so good. Palamisia and the final dungeon. One general, usually, I think, it's worth it to give it at least one round of teleports. I do have to be ever so slightly mindful of how many teleport tomes I use, because I do have a lot of them, but unfortunately I don't have an infinite amount of them. And I do need them for the final dungeons, because there are 2 more dungeons after this. Although one, basically they're connected dungeons, so it's one big dungeon as far as I'm concerned. But we're already a good bit of the way into this dungeon, actually. Castle of Palamisia. 45. This is okay. The less teleport scrolls I use, the better. One's runnable, so thank you very much for that. Yeah, we have only 2 more floors to go for the end of this dungeon. Lamias are runnable, so that's nice. Lamias, unfortunately, aren't runnable in the final dungeons. Not gonna take an ambush generals if I have the choice. Yeah, it's very random when you're gonna. It's very random when you're gonna get time loss. If you're gonna get time loss, sometimes dungeons can just fly by because you get really good encounters, or they teleport on the first tome and the battles fly by. Sometimes you can also get stuff like this, where it takes multiple rounds, or you get a bad enemy encounter with an ambush that also forces you to say, reset your party back to the back row and that kind of stuff. So, Final Fantasy II is all about how you deal with RNG, the RNG that you get. Skulls alone, unfortunately, are enemies you need to teleport away. Shouldn't be too bad, I hope. Okay, this is taking a bit long. I have a total of 5 minutes of time save on this dungeon compared to my PB. It's really stupid how much time I lost here in my PB. It can happen. It's you can have a god dungeon, you can have a poor dungeon where you lose 5 minutes of time compared to your PB. There's not really anything you can do there about that. You can have reset. Sometimes you have to reset the same encounter 10 times in a row. Sometimes you don't have to. You have 4 runnable enemies in a row. It's really can really vary what you can get. Okay. Any updates, Nordic?
Unfortunately, no. So I'd like to remind everybody why we're here, right? We're here to raise money for charity. And specifically, we're raising money for a charity called Mind, which is a nationwide organization that's committed to preventing mental health issues and to support everyone who's dealing with mental health issues themselves or within their family. All of our donations are going to go directly to Mind. And in every region of the world, did you know that mental disorders surpass 10% of the population? Governments seem to lack momentum in reducing the burden of mental health problems, as only 55% have mental health awareness and only 8% have suicide prevention plans. So organizations like Mind help to raise awareness to the issue by helping us get one step closer to a world where everyone gets the help they need. And every euro you donate goes directly to this amazing cause. So please, get those donations in and keep enjoying some amazing content.
Thank you very much. Now, Leon is at the top of Polynesia, but the Emperor actually returns back from Hell, because he's apparently in the afterlife has taken over Hell and has returned to Earth with tremendous power, and he replaces Polynesia Castle with Castle Pandemonium. We escaped with Leon, but unfortunately Rickard had to sacrifice himself. So Leon will be our 4th party character. So Leon is our 4th party character at the first battle of the game and the last segment of the game. And he will actually be the one to kill the Emperor. A little bit of a spoiler. I know this much in advance. So let's set him up. So what we're gonna do is we'll give him the good equipment. We'll use Guy as an meat shield for the last few dungeons. Now to get into Castle Palamecia, we need to take something that's known as the Jade Passage. So we have to go through an underground passage in there. We can't enter with airship from the top, but we actually have to make use of a sort of a portal and actually go into Hell, which is known as Pandemonium. Now, the Jade Passage is a somewhat short dungeon. Only 2 unrunnable encounters, but the encounters in here are incredibly dangerous. So you'll see me safe frequently. So, what we got? If you get ambushed by the enemies here, the enemies can one-shot you if you're unlucky. And this is one of the unrunnables, actually. the white dragon. The other unrunnable is also a dragon, the green dragon. Yeah, the dragons are incredibly dangerous, and hopefully we can teleport them away. They really look menacing in this version. In Final Fantasy 1 for the PSP, they're actually somewhat small sprites, but in Final Fantasy 2, they look ginormous. So they really look menacing. So props to the design team for making their design so menacing. Took a little bit of a shortcut there. Because this dungeon has a few of them. Now we're in the waterfall room right now. And in this waterfall room, a shop is actually located behind one of the waterfalls. And we actually use this shop because this shop sells spell scrolls. Specifically, the spell scroll we're after is the haste tombs. Because now this Final Fantasy, like the other ones of the first 3 Final Fantasies, are actually turn-based. So the way they in other Final Fantasies, if you would use haste, your active time bar would speed up. You would get more. You would get your turn bar would fill up faster. You would get more turns. You don't have that in these games. So what haste does here, it increases the amount of hits you do per attack. And that's precisely the key to our success, because we can increase the amount of hits we do per attack, and that's the key to defeating the Emperor combined with the Bloodsword, like I mentioned before. Bloodsword, as a reminder, does 1/16 of an enemy's HP per hit you do on the enemy. So if you combine the haste tomb together with the blood sword, you can defeat the final boss on average in 3 turns. 2 turns if you have a little bit of luck. So and every turn you have to spend extra on the final boss is a chance for the final boss to kill you, basically. So the only way we can make the fight work is actually through the Bloodsword and the haste tombs. Luckily, because the enemies we fought with give you a lot of money as a reward, so we always have the money to buy the haste tombs. Plus, the Blink Tome, I bought 2 Blink Tomes earlier. I also have a Blink Tome, so that will also come into play once we face the final boss. Cyclone is a dangerous spell the Abyss Worms can do. They can outright wipe me. So hopefully Leon can run away. I do have extra life tombs, so kind of hoping I can run away and revive my characters. So let's do that now and revive the bunch. I bought 99 high potions in Salamence, so I still have 60 left, even though I used a bunch of them. We're almost at the end of Jade Passage, and at the end of Jade Passage is a teleporter that leads into Castle Pandemonium. And Castle Pandemonium, oh boy, is a treat. That's filled to the brim with encounters, with dangerous encounters. So you have to save after every encounter, because a lot of encounters are encounters we don't really want to deal with. Lamia queens and Lamias are actually one of them, because they're incredibly difficult to teleport. So, Death Rider and Mythical Golem are instant resets. You can't defeat them. So it's really Pandemonium is all about getting lucky, basically. And I swear you can get different encounters here. Death Riders by themselves are actually runnable, so that's finally a break. And because you save after every encounter, it's usually when you get a very unfavorable encounter, it's usually faster to just reset. That's also why I'm not too worried about my teleport tome count. Because most of the encounters that you can teleport are unfavorable ones. Yeah, good. Okay, I didn't save between the encounters, so I'm actually, since it's a single Lamia Queen, I'm actually gonna take this. Oh, that's very lucky. I've had it happen where after using 8 teleport tomes, you just still don't teleport the Lamia Queen away. If you've just saved, usually when you get a Lamia Queen encounter, you're advised to reset. They're really tough to teleport. Death Rider Mythical Golem, like I mentioned before, reset. It's the only encounter where it's absolutely instant reset. If you see a two Mythical Golems or 4 Beast Demons in an encounter, I give them 1 round of teleports. Unless it removes all of the Lamias, then I give them a bit more. Okay, that's not too bad. Yeah, a few of the encounters here can be incredibly annoying. But we're finally, after much ado, on the 2nd floor. Not at a good start, from the looks of it. Yeah, this dungeon, depending on the encounters you get, can really swing. Mythical Golems on their own, it can either be just a Mythical Golem encounter, which is runnable, or it can be a Mythical Golem Death Rider encounter, which is unrunnable, but with 0 Death Riders. So usually when you try to run away from them, you can see what they are. If you see 2 Mythical Golems in an encounter, you're very likely to actually have the Mythical Golem only a Mythical Golem only encounter, which is runnable, so it's really nice if you get that. We're just gonna try. The Lamia Queen's teleports are going surprisingly well today so far, actually. They're normally nowhere near as kind as this, so I'm surprised. Now this 3rd floor actually has a few shortcuts, so now please. Yes, another. We use this shortcut and we use... we have another one, I think. Sorry, we have another floor with shortcuts. It's really fun to use the shortcuts. I like the Mythical Golems. Mythical Golems are being bros for now, so So this in the previous floor you have the choice of 4 doors. This is the right path, and this. Ooh, this one is rare, but runnable. The Iron Giant is 1 in 64 encounters. It's a really rare encounter. So if you were looking to complete your bestiary, that's one you would actually have to grind for. But encountering it is rare, so that's nice. The Bomb Fire Gigas encounters are nice. Same goes for the Bomb Ice Gigas encounters, because they are also runnable. The Bomb Thunder Gigas encounters are actually not runnable, so... I also don't want to open the treasure chests in here, because the treasure chests contain super bosses. There are 4 treasure chests in this dungeon, and they contain super bosses such as Ahriman, Beelzebub, strong bosses. we don't want to deal with them. They're really cool. They have cool designs though. I can vouch for that. I've actually done a full bestiary playthrough somewhere in the past. It's really fun actually, because you'll play the game a bit more natural. Now, multiple beast demons in an encounter. If it would be a beast demon plus devil blooms, it would be a terrible encounter, because you would have to try and teleport that, and they're very unlikely to teleport, so you would be advised to actually reset. But if it's just an encounter filled with beast demons, then they are runnable, so that's nice. We're only a few floors away from the end, so we're making good progress in here. Bomb Ice Gigas, like I mentioned, runnable. Oh, yeah, this dungeon... This dungeon is really, yeah... Can swing all sorts of ways, depending on the encounters. Devil Wolves, runnable, definitely. And yeah, what you generally see people do here, if they're on step route and if they're not on step route, is take an encounter, take a few steps, and then save. Cause it's roughly 10 steps per encounter or something. So you can in general keep that pace in mind. That is slightly better than just saving directly on top of an encounter tile. Although if I have to change formations anyway, I tend to be a bit more efficient. So only a few more floors to go. This is another floor with a shortcut, and after this it's 2 more floors, and one of the floors actually being the final boss floor. Oh, shoot, this is Thunder Gigas. Whoopsie. Thunder Gigas, we can use the teleport tombs. Oh, we got most of them already, so that's good. Let's revive Firion. Now you can take multiple paths across this floor if there were no shortcuts, but there's one shortcut that makes it a lot easier. Well, Ice Gigas is runnable actually, and that's this shortcut here. It takes us right to the teleporter. So last teleporter we have to reach, and after this floor it's the boss floor. It's the floor with the final boss. So we're really close. This is a short floor, by the way. Thunder Gigas. This time we have a preemptive, so that's good. All is good in the world so far. Now, before we reach the end of the run, I want to give a few shoutouts. I want to give a shoutouts to the Final Fantasy 1 and Final Fantasy 2 community. We have a Discord with both communities in them, and they're a really nice bunch of people. did a bunch of work, and they're now excitedly working on the pixel remasters of Final Fantasy 1 and 2. So it's a lot of it's a lot of fun. I'll actually be racing Final Fantasy 1 on Friday evening European time against Cruel. This is an unrunnable encounter actually. And yeah, it's gonna be fun. My racing partner on Friday is actually the Cruel. He showed me Final Fantasy 1 at BSG about 5 years ago. It's been roughly 5 years since I've been to my first BSG. So it's really nice to see a run being done and then become a runner of RPGs yourself. So it's a lovely experience, really. Actually, I am saving here. So I want to give shout-outs to all of them. And I've seen the Cruel run Final Fantasy 2 a few times at BSG. He ran a bit of an all-route, used different equipment, so much less consistent. And the old route, back when they used the old routes, getting below 3 hours was actually... getting a sub 3 hour time was actually difficult. But with this route it's a lot easier. And this route also makes the Emperor more consistent. This boss can be over in an instant. So I want to ask Tech to get ready on time. Because this can go by really quickly if I'm lucky. Hey Storm. Now, like I mentioned before, Bloodsword 1/16 damage per hit you do. Slow is fine on the other characters. I need haste on Leon. 7, I need 9 more hits, basically. What I'll do now is I'll use a Blink Tone. Because physical attacks of the Emperor can kill me. I need 1 more hit. I should be fine. Leon should be able to survive this, so get ready on time. Time! 2:51:38 on my timer. Don't know what's showing on the BSG time because I don't have the stream open, but that's Final Fantasy 2. So yeah.
And yeah, it matches on the stream.
Yeah, so
it just caught up.
So yeah, we are under leveled the entire run, but we make use of some very broken mechanics and items throughout the game to be able to beat the Emperor. And 2:51. This is the first sub 3 hour time at the BC. So there you go. Cruel. It's sad because Cruel with the old route actually had been on pace for sub 3 hour time multiple times actually, but. Due to the inconsistency of the old strats, usually the Emperor would just outright bomb his shots at getting PB, so it's really... this one's for you, buddy. Yeah, I don't really have anything more to add to that. It's a lot of RNG, it's fun to roll the dice at times. It can be a bit frustrating, but it's a lovely challenge, really. I learned this 8 or 9 months ago, originally with a goal to get a sub 3 hours, and I even managed to get almost get the sub 240 so in that time. So yeah, I'm satisfied. So take it away.
All right. Well, GG's all around. Thank you so much for that amazing run. We are going to take a break. In fact, we're going to take a big break. We are going to take a stream resetting break. So don't panic, everybody. You know, the stream's going to go down for a minute, but it's going to come right back up. And when it does, you will be joined by a trio of games. We've got Super Ghouls and Ghosts, we've got Super Metroid, and we've got Fox and Forests. We just need a super in front of that one too, I guess. But yeah, those are going to be our next 3 games. This is the end of my shift, not only for today, but for the rest of BSG. So thank you all for having me. Always a pleasure to be here. I'm going to leave you all in the very capable hands of our very own Killer Chair. So stick around, everybody. There is going to be a stream reset. So again, don't panic. Just hit reset here in a minute, and we will see you on the other side.